So this wasn't quite the video that I was planning to make. It was about to be, hey look, cheap flagships are a thing. But the more I used them, I found out one thing. So, on one hand we have the Vivo V7 Plus, the flagship device from Vivo, but from 2017. On the other hand we have the Samsung J7 Pro, mid-ranger from Samsung, but from 2017. Also when looking at phones from a different era, that of bezels, the scenario has been quite the same. If we take up the flagship Vivo V20 Pro and compare it with the mid-range Samsung A71, the results will be quite identical. The flagship has a better processor. The Snapdragon 450 scores an average of 57,000 on the Antutu benchmark compared to the 45,000 of the Exynos 7870. It has more memory, 4GB on the Vivo compared to only 3GB on the Samsung. It has a better camera and 16 megapixels on the main sensor compared to only 30 on this one. The flagship has a bigger screen, 5.99 inches on this one compared to 5.5 on the mid-ranger. Plus, flagships have at least one defining characteristic that is used for marketing. For the Vivo, it is a selfie camera that has even more megapixels than the rear camera. That sounds weird, I know. Now, we are at 5 points for the Vivo compared to 0 for the Samsung. And if you're enjoying this video, do consider subscribing. The design of the flagship V7 Plus looks a lot up to the mark. It has no thick bezels, and the streams and chunky front camera bezels are quite acceptable for 2017. But the mid-ranger phone of the Samsung looks something out of 2013. So a point to the flagship. The flagship has face unlock, but believe me, it is terrible on this device. Plus, these are Android devices, and provided that you have a front camera, this is a solvable problem. So both can have the same face unlock features. Also, both of these have 64 gigs of internal storage. So 6 points to the flagship compared to 0 for the Samsung. But this is where things start to take a turn. The flagship has a smaller battery. We are looking at a 3225 mAh compared with a 3600 mAh battery. Couple that with a bigger screen and you will get even less battery life. The mid-ranger has a 1080p display compared to the 720p of the flagship. Now, the biggest twist is here. The mid-ranger runs on Android 9.0 Pie while the flagship runs on the Android 8.0 Oreo. Now, what on earth did Vivo even think? Flagship standard phone and they cannot even provide updates for 2 years? Samsung did that with even some of their low-end mid-rangers. Okay, the lower resolution coupled with the larger screen size reduces the pixel density hugely, and by hugely I mean at 268. And as expected, it looks terrible at sometimes. And the skin on which the Vivo phone is based is the FunTouch OS, and I'm not a huge fan of it. No matter what you do, it will just keep showing you notifications to download weird apps and games throughout the day. They will pop up even when you uninstall a game. That cheapens the experience at the end. The mid-range has a few features that the Vivo just dropped. The mid-range has NFC, it even has a magnetometer, while Vivo, okay, we'll just leave them. Although the Vivo has a high resolution camera, the low light shots look a lot better on the Samsung. Vivo seems to have oversaturated the shots and make them look a lot more artificial. The scores look pretty hefty now. So, just to wrap it all up, the cheaper flagships try to funnel with promises that are only half great. They try to do everything to achieve their target price point, whether it is making ads or providing updates for only a year. And not just Vivo, this is true for every cheap flagship out there. Okay, so that's pretty much it for now. I'm Marco, and I'll catch you in the next one.